Hello and welcome to the show. This is Andy's Shed Live. It's Series 8, Episode 14 for this Sunday, the 4th of April, 2021. Hello there, good evening everybody, how are you? Hope you're having a great one this fine and sunny Easter Sunday afternoon. Just bear with me a second, my camera's a bit wonky. Oh, can't be having wonky cameras. No, I can't be doing a wonky camera, sorry. It annoys me, because I can see myself in it, you see, so I can't have it wonky. Right, that's better. Ish. That'll do. Right, that'll do. Hello, welcome to the show, and welcome to everybody who is joining us in the chat as well, which you can see somewhere there, hopefully. Who have we got in the chat? You're looking at it there, I'm looking at it down here, because I've got it on the screen down here. Dominic's with us, Fat Hobbit's with us, Jimmy is with us, Paul is with us, and Wesley is with us as well. Hope he's got that Land Rover fixed, that Wesley Pegden. Right, hello, welcome to Andy Shed Live, I say for this Easter Sunday. Now, it's all gone a bit wrong this week, because things that should have arrived haven't arrived. So, I should have had a big box to open this week, and all I've got is that. so it's not gone terribly right, shall we say? But yeah, we have at least got one little box to open. Exciting bits in the little box, though. If you're a telephone type person, let me sort of sort out your cameras. Nothing is where it should be today for some reason. Oh, that camera's hot. Why is that camera hot? Right. Yes. What have I got in this box? I don't even know how you open the box. Oh, that's it. I've figured it out now. I figured it out. Yeah. That's how you open the box, right? So you can see it. That's what I've got in the box. Alright. It's a Bakelite phone transmitter back, but it's a transmitter back for a candlestick, because there's two candlesticks on the way. Believe it or believe it not. Yes, there's two 150s, both of which have been converted into lamps. Now, you people that keep converting telephones into lamps, there's a shop. It's called Wilko's. It's on the high street. If you go in there, you'll find you can buy lamps in Wilko's. You don't have to convert telephones into lamps. I know there may be at least one person on here watching who does it as well. You know who you are if you're watching, even. But yes, so people convert telephones into lamps. I spend all my time taking things that have been converted into lamps and turning them back into what they should be, whether that be telephones or whatever. These little bits are for a couple of candlesticks that are coming that have been butchered into lamps. Now, it's really stupid converting candlesticks into lamps, because there is nowhere you will ever get as much money for them as a lamp as you will as a working candlestick phone. No way at all. Just go and look at the prices on eBay of working genuine candlesticks and you will see what I mean. So that's all that's arrived, basically. Two measly transmitter backs, although they're quite good, and they've been nicely polished as well. The guy that sold them to me, he must have buffed them up and that, and he's got quite a few bits and pieces on eBay, and they're all in really good condition. So yeah, must have had the old buffing machine out. Right, what's everybody saying in the chat? We're saying Happy Easter everyone. Wesley says no, he's not got his Land Rover sorted yet. Yeah, you need Thora Hurd to give you a Give you a prod in it, Wesley. Um, it would be the perfect day. Australia 66, you see, it says, it would be the perfect day to fix a Hong Kong Bugs Bunny phone. If you've got one, let us know. If you've got one, we'll go live to you and watch you do it if you want. Bugs Bunny phone. I can't think I've heard of a Bugs Bunny phone. I've heard of a Mickey Mouse phone and a Garfield phone. Can't think I've heard of a Bugs Bunny phone. Dominic says, I'd like to get a candlestick phone someday, but they're terribly expensive. Yeah, they are, Dominic. That's why all the ones that I've got, I've only got one at the minute, but like I say, there's two more on the way, have been turned into lamps. Because when they've been turned into lamps, the value goes, and then you can afford them then, and hopefully we can turn them back into telephones. So that's what happens when they're turned into lamps. That's why I say, don't turn them into lamps. You want a lamp, go and buy a lamp. You want a telephone, buy a telephone. Why do they have to turn things into something they're not? The worst example of it I can ever remember, and was on that programme that comes on the telly in an afternoon, that Money for Nothing, with that Sarah, whatever her name is. And she goes around the recycling centres. It really annoys me, that programme, because she goes around all these dump it sites, all these recycling centres, and basically taking stuff out of the backs of people's cars and that. Now, you and me, we can't do that. I've been to the recycling centre today. I took some garden rubbish into the recycling centre today, and I don't know about anybody else. There's lots of things that I'd like to pick up from the local recycling centre. I see lots of things down there, like old bicycles and things like that. I think, oh yeah, will they let you have it? Will they heck us like? But she can do it, and she goes and picks up things from the recycling centre. And on one particular episode of this programme, she picked up a record vise. I kid you not. Well, I say picked up in the loosest possible terms, because it was huge, this vise. And she took it to this bloke to do something with it, as they say. And what did he do? He turned it into a wall light. God knows how he did it, but he drilled a hole into it somehow, fixed a light bulb into the top, and they said, we're going to pin that to your wall. How the hell do you pin a record vise to the wall? You can't hold that with drawing pins, can you? I mean, it weighs a ton. And then we wanted to put it on somebody's wall. You wouldn't put it on the walls around here, pull the house down. But that's just one of the things. I digress. That's my rant for the day over. Fat Hobbit says, given your career in the film studios, had you ever thought about running a props agency for phones, Andy? At least you will be able to advise on the correct type of phone for the period. Right, it wasn't much of a career in the film studios. It lasted about 10 minutes. But I have considered that, doing stuff for prop houses. And I did supply one thing to a movie once. I supplied a railway bardic lamp to a film that was in production at Elstree Film and Television. But basically, to be a prop house, you have to have every item that they want, really. And film and television prop houses are wondrous places that have to be seen to be believed. They have got every version of every item you can possibly imagine from every era in history, either real or fake, a prop. And the places are amazing, because you go in and you say to the guy, I want a Roman chariot, and boom, next thing you know, it's coming out with full size Roman chariot and horses. Next thing you say to him, I want an alien's laser gun. He goes shuffling off down the corridor, comes back with a selection of aliens laser guns. Next thing you might say to him, I want an Edwardian wedding dress. Boom! Down another aisle, with about 50 Edwardian wedding dresses. That's what they do. That's what these prop houses do. They are unbelievable. How they fit the stuff into the space they have available, I don't know, but they literally have everything, and they've really got the market for that sewn up, because they have just got everything you can imagine from every era in time. Unfortunately, they're not open to the public. They'd be a great place to visit. They really would. They'd be a brilliant tourist attraction, because they're like the best museum you've ever been in. They're like the museum of absolutely everything. They are incredible places, prop houses. So basically, to start a prop house, I don't know where you would begin. I really don't know where you would begin. Dominic says, I saw on eBay one of those 746 lamp conversions, except it was a red 746L. Yeah, was it actually a 746L, or was it just one that had a modern alphanumeric dial bezel put on it? The guy that does some of them is probably watching. There is one person that does them who watches this. But I'm hoping he's got the good sense that if it's a rare phone, he wouldn't do it. Well, he says, I saw that one with the record vice. Would have been worth a few quid without ruining it. Yes, exactly, Wesley. Exactly. She could have just sold it as a vice. Why do you have to turn things into something that they're not? That's what I don't understand. Why not restore them and sell them as what they are? You know, because she does get some nice antique things in. You know, she gets some nice antique furniture and stuff, and then they go and paint it and put a map on the top. I actually have a friend who's an antiques dealer, and she painted furniture for about 10 years. You know, when everybody was into shabby chic, she went to the auctions, bought furniture that nobody wanted, and it was good quality furniture. You know, it was proper wooden furniture from sort of mid-century British furniture. Nobody wanted it. She bought it for next to nothing. You know, she'd buy like a set of drawers or something for about £5, paint it, do this shabby chic thing with it, and sell it for far more than she paid for it. Now she's getting those items of furniture back, taking the paint off and properly restoring them, because now people want the wooden furniture back again. So she's properly polishing the wood and stuff again. So what goes around comes around, sort of thing. So maybe I should thank the people that turn telephones into lamps, because they give me something to do turning them back into telephones again, don't they? So yeah, it's all good fun, I guess. A phone that's not been converted. If I move these out of the way, and put them back in the little box in the moment until next week, when hopefully the phones that they're going on will have arrived. A phone that's not been converted is this. Do you remember the very scruffy green 706 clone phone from last week and that? Well, it's here. It's still not perfect, We've not perfectly colour restored it and that, but it's getting better. It has taken so much sanding to do this. It really has. We've done it with acetone, we've done it with sandpaper, we've done a combination of the two. It's relatively smooth. It's not shiny at the moment. If I put it under the other camera, you'll see. It's not shining, but it is smooth at the minute. It's just a little bit discoloured in places, like around the bottom edge there, and in here, where you really can't get to very easily. I've got to do some more work in there, but it is getting there. We are getting somewhere with it. So that phone that looked hopeless, all covered in paint, we are actually beginning to get somewhere. So that's a bit of good news, isn't it? And I've cleaned up. Well, I've started to clean up the internals of it as well. You want to have a look at that? See, I've cleaned up the internals of it. The dial might just be a tad slow. 1001. Yeah, it's a tad. It's just a little bit slow still, but at least now you can see that the little arrowheads in there, because you couldn't see them before. It was so filthy, you just couldn't see the arrowheads there at all. But yeah, the amount of gunge we got out of it. What I did, I used a paintbrush. I used a sort of 1/2 inch or 1 inch paintbrush. You know, just an ordinary paintbrush like you'd have for painting your walls. And I used that to sort of brush most of the muck out of it. That there is still some in it, but most of the dust has gone out of it now, so we can kind of see now what we're dealing with. It's interesting this, because somebody's had a go at least partially converting it, because although this is in its unconverted state here, with T4, 5, 6 and 7 joined together, and then also 8 and 9 joined together, and 16 and 17 joined together, and 18 and 19 joined together, and also 16 and 17 are joined to 18 and 19 by a bit of wire. So somebody has kind of had a go at starting the conversion, but not really totally finished it. So somebody's had a go there, and you'll also notice that I've cleaned up the dial Opal as well, because that was absolutely covered in paint. We managed to get that out. I did have a problem, because when you take the dial Opal out, the little screw in the middle to get the finger wheel off, it was absolutely stuck solid, that screw in the middle of this. And that's a couple I've had like that recently now, where the screw to get the finger wheel off has been stuck, and for a minute I thought I wasn't going to be able to do it. So yeah, it took a little bit of doing, that did, but it's starting to look better, as you'll see. Christopher 2000 joins in the chat. Hi Christopher. So I'll take that phone and put that one back over there and stuff. That's that a one. And I'll bring you another grotty one up. There you go. There's another grotty one for you. So we'll have a look at this one, shall we? And see what we can potentially do with that. Right, so while we are looking to sort that phone out, I've just got to go and get a paintbrush and thing to get the dust out. So I'll be back with you in just a second. Don't go anywhere. And we're back, and I've found my paintbrushes that I use on these. Right, oh, the chats are scrolling away there today. That's it. Paul says in the chat there was a green 706L in Diacon on eBay the other week. It was unconverted and immaculate. Sadly, the bid suddenly doubled, so it is not on its way to my collection. Yeah. Yeah, a green one in Diacon's a bit unusual, actually. Can't say that I've ever seen a green Diacon one. But, yeah. The prices of stuff on eBay at the moment are just absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely insane, the prices are, compared to what they were sort of 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's bonkers. It's bonkers. But there are still bargains to be had, but you really, really do have to look for them now. You really have to look for them. Right, talking of bargains, this was one. Shall we start to give it a clean up and you'll be able to see what we do. This is the CB 706. So it originally wouldn't have had a dial, this. So we'll probably eventually restore it without a dial if I can get an ivory blanking plate for it. But the first thing that I do is I go in with a big paintbrush and just basically do what I can with a fairly big paintbrush. So you've got some of it off, and then I think it's worth taking the handset off. I mean, these are so bad that you want to basically disconnect whatever you can. So the handset is connected in the normal way. Handset red to T1, green to T2, blue to T3, and white to T11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, T10. White T10, because there's 9 across the top, isn't there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so white T10. So red to T1, green to T2, blue to T3, white to T10. And there they jolly well go. So take that off, and that can be restored separately. We'll probably end up taking the curly cord off that and restoring the curly cord separately as well. So I'll put that down here for a moment. Right. Back in business. Right. Just keep going on the chat while I'm here. Dominic says, was that phone an early one without the chevrons on the cupped feet? Yeah, was it a very early one with a dial 12 on it? That'd have been good. And it says, I agree, Andy. I tend to steer clear of most phones on eBay these days unless it's really something special. Yeah, there's not many bargains to be had on there. There are a few, but not many. Wesley says, do you wet sand ABS cases? I've been reviving a grotty blue trim foam this week using wet and dry, wet, and working down to 1500 grit, followed by a machine polish. I was delighted with the results. I personally normally do it dry, but there's no reason not to do it wet. You might get it a little bit more shiny if you do it wet, but I personally do it dry. But I do things with acetone as well. To get a really, really good finish on a phone, you can do what they call an acetone vapor bath, whereby you need a sealed container for this that's big enough to put the phone in. And what you do, you get it reasonably smoothish, a bit like this green cases. This is smooth to the touch, but it's not shiny. Okay, because this has been sanded down. What you do then with the acetone vapor polishing is you get a big container that you can seal. Okay, it needs to be something you can seal, and it needs to be something the acetone won't eat. So if it's made out of plastic, make sure it's a type of plastic that's impervious to the acetone. Then what you do is you put a tray in the bottom, ideally a metal tray, about inch deep, something like that. In that tray, put tissue paper or something else absorbent, blotting paper, bits of toilet roll, something like that. And into that, put some acetone. Yeah, pour some acetone into it so it absorbs into the paper. Then put some little standoffs on the tray. A bit like the tier things for a wedding cake, anything you can find. Perhaps cotton reels, if you've got some old wooden cotton reels or something like that might be good. And then on top of the standoffs, actually put the phone case, yeah? So the phone case is above the tray with the acetone soaked paper in it. Put the lid on, leave it for half an hour. Come back, you'll be amazed how shiny it is. I've seen it done. I've not done it myself, but I've seen it done, and it is spectacular. But don't leave it too long, because you just want to melt the very, very, very. What happens is the acetone vapor in the thing. This is why I have to have a tight lid on it. The acetone vapor just melts. The vapor that does this just melts the very surface, and then it re-solidifies, and it goes like glass. It's like ice melting into water and then turning back into ice again. And of course, when it refreezes flat, and that's exactly what it does. And it's an amazingly smooth finish. I saw it done with a topaz yellow phone. A guy sanded it down, and then he put it in something like a big biscuit tin or something like that it was, with this bit of acetone soaked paper below it, and the vapors rose up and did their work. And you might not even have to leave it half an hour. Look at it after 10 minutes or so, and you might get a nice surprise. Jimmy says, when my friends bought a house, it had not been done up since it was built in the 70s. One of those scenery places bought their central heating boiler, cooker and fridge. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah, one of the prop houses. Yeah, they would do. They would, because if you're making a 70s TV show, the 70s is kind of the era that time forgot, because people still really don't think of 70s, and certainly don't think of 80s stuff. as being old, but it is, you know. And if you are making a 70s or 80s TV program, there are things that you need that we don't have now. Dial telephones, a good example. But things like twin tub washing machines. Who had a twin tub washing machine? Lots of people had twin tub washing machines in the 70s and that. In the 70s, my mum, in the sort of up to the late 70s, when she changed it, she had still got a washing machine that had a mangle on the top of it. You know, and of course everything was orange and brown and things as well in the 1970s, you know, orange Hygiena kitchen units and stuff like that. And these are the things that you don't think of now, but, you know, these prop houses need these things. So, you know, they have to get all kinds of weird stuff. Wesley says the vapour bath sounds like a good idea for one Sunday at 6 o'clock. Yeah, well, we'll do one live one day, and we'll see how it goes live. I've actually got loads and loads of cases that aren't on phones. If you watched an episode a while back where I was sorting them out, getting them all out the back of the van, you will have seen me sorting out literally hundreds of cases. Right, so I've got a fairly stiff paintbrush here, bought out of my favourite pound shop, and it's good that it's stiff because it's just stiff enough to dislodge some of the muck without doing any damage to anything. And you can just tip it up and tip it out, sort of thing. Look at it. All that's coming out of the inside of this foam. We'll make a pile over there. I would normally, at this point, take the regulator board out, but I'm worried that muck is going to get into the slot where it goes if I do that. So what's everybody been up to this week? We all had a fun week. My old mum went back to the leisure centre this week to have her second shot of the COVID jab. So she's now done with her vaccinations. I get mine in June apparently, my second one. Wesley says he thinks he's still one of those washers with a mangle on into the 1980s. Yeah, it was a hot point one, I think, Wesley. If you look on YouTube, there is a guy, his channel is called Forward to the Past. And he's not got a massive amount of videos on, but the ones that he's got are very good, and they're all sort of restoring old equipment of various types and that. Very similar to what we do here, although we tend to stick on telephones. He does a variety of things, and one thing that he had got and got working and demonstrating was one of these washers with a mangle on the top, and I believe it's a hot point, this washing machine. I believe it's a hot point, and he'd got one almost identical, if not absolutely identical, to the one that my mum had. So have a look at him. Forward to the Past, the channel is called, and tell him I sent you. Right, let's see what we can do here. I might end up having to take this apart a bit. falling out. What's that? No, it's a little sticker. Fell off on the inside. I'd love to know what happened to these phones to get so filthy. There must be a story behind this. But look at the state of that dial. I'm fairly sure there's supposed to be numbers in there. Yeah, I think I might have to take that apart. Fattlebit says, I remember my mum using those big wooden tongs to move the washing from one tub to the other. Yeah, well, if you had a twin tub, yeah, they were a thing of twin tubs, weren't they? They pop up quite regularly now, those wooden tongs, in antique centres, and nobody's got a clue what they were for. But yeah, twin tub tongs, or what they used to use years ago for the copper. When you used to have a copper, you didn't have a washing machine, you had a copper, just a thing that got hot, and you put your washing in it and sort of mix it up yourself, sort of thing. Right, just look at the state of that dial. It's actually not coming off easily either, that. It's like stuck on there. Well, now that's interesting because it's missing the little clip thing, the little spring thing, and sometimes they are missing, and I do often wonder if they'll always get put on. So I'll take that off. It's not too bad on the inside there, it's reasonable. Actually, we're going to have to take some of this apart to do it justice, aren't we? Dominic says, I've been testing my 63 black 706L with the flat feet. I've been trying to improve the very quiet transmitter by turning over the regulator board. Just thinking about this. Right. Right, so the transmitter is very quiet. How do you know the transmitter is quiet? People get transmitters, and the reason I'm asking this question is people get transmitters and receivers mixed up. And it all goes back to people who call the handset the receiver, where actually it's the handset, it's the transmitter and the receiver. It's only the receiver on something like a candlestick, where the bit you put to your ear is the receiver, because it's receiving signal. I say it's transmitting the signal though, the receiver, because it's actually transmitting it into your ear, isn't it? So, but the bit you're talking to basically is the transmitter. How do you know it's quiet, Dominic? Are you trying it with somebody and the person on the other end says, I can't hear you? Is that what's happening? Oshkiri66 says, I've seen dirty phones but nothing like that. Do you select them intentionally for the challenge? No, I select them intentionally because they're cheap. As we were saying earlier, the price of phones on eBay has just skyrocketed, gone absolutely ridiculous. And so the only ones you can get at a reasonable price are ones that are really bad, that people just don't want to touch with a barge pole, basically. But what people don't realise, so don't tell them, it's going to be our secret, is what bomb-proof technology these phones are. And even ones that look absolutely terrible will come back to life quite easily, normally. So this shouldn't be too bad to actually get going. Right. It's quite a nice dial, this, on this one as well. Batch sampled M2. When was the dial made? 21 FWR 71-1. It probably wasn't made in 71 though, it's probably a refurbished dial, because I think we said this went back to the factory in 71, didn't we? Yeah. Oh, February 77 it went back to the factory. February 77, and it's from 1960 originally, CB from 1960. But it probably wasn't a CB until 1977. It probably had a dial fitted long before that. So it probably had the dial fitted in 71 or something like that. But yeah, I knew these were ridiculously dirty. These are the phones, by the way, that I unboxed on that unboxing video that I put up last week. So if you've not watched that yet, have a look at that unboxing video, because getting these out of the box was incredible. You know, there were just dust and dirt and crap going everywhere. Dominic said it's the original carbon transmitter that probably needs replacing at some point. Probably doesn't need replacing, Dominic. What you need to do is break up the carbon granules. Now, I've done this successfully in a trim phone. I've not done it in these bigger transmitters on 700 series because they're smaller than a trim phone, but I've done it in a trim phone. Basically what you have to do is the carbon granules in the transmitter clump together, particularly if it's maybe been in a damp atmosphere at some point in its life. So what you have to do is try and unclump them. Now, one way you can do it is take the transmitter out and just bang it on the desk, you know, face down on the desk. Just bang the thing on the desk. So get your transmitter, imagine this is your transmitter, and just go with quite some force actually on the desk, and that might help. Now if it's really bad, that will not entirely do it, but what you can do is very carefully take those transmitters apart. The edge is normally, depending on which sort you've got, it's normally rolled over the edge, and you can kind of unroll the metal top where it's been rolled over and get into the transmitter that way. And then you have to be very careful not to spill any of the carbon granules out of it, but it can be done. I'll not say it makes them perfect like they were when they were new, but it does make them better. Definitely it does make them better. So yeah, maybe we'll do that on a show. I'm fairly sure we've done it on a show before. I'm fairly sure I've done it on these shows before. So it says I tried tapping it on the table to make it up a little bit. It didn't work. I'm going to avoid taking it apart as it's original, and dismantling it is destructive. Yeah, it can be a bit destructive. Yeah, but transmitters are fairly common, and that maybe you could get another one that's not very good and take that one apart, and then if you do improve it, actually put it in. Australia says carbon mics were considered disposable here. They are all dated by the PTT and were replaced usually after 5 years. Starting in the mid-70s, the capsules were replaced by transistorized AKGs. Yeah, similar thing happened here. I don't think it was the mid-70s. I think it was a bit later. I think it was maybe around about late 70s, early 80s when they started doing it here. But they did start replacing them with solid-state microphones here, which are the ones normally in either a red or a blue housing in the UK. What has this phone actually got in it? Oh, this has got a carbon unit in it. Yeah, this has got a, if I get it under the camera, this has got a carbon one in it, you see. But what I was on about, Dominic, is this lip here. You can, with a little screwdriver, sort of uncurl that all the way around, then just lift the top off, and then you can carefully curl it back again. When you've done it, that is doable. But some of these that I've seen, if you get very lucky, some of them you can take them apart. They've got little screws in here, and you can take them apart. One of these had got one of the electronic ones in, because I looked at it the other day. Is it this green one? What's this got in it? Oh, this green one, the handset for the filthy green one, has got one of the ones in you can take apart. You can see the screws. Now, I've never taken one of these apart, these with the screws in, but I'm guessing that makes it easier. But this is from 1966, this one. On the back of it, I don't know if you can see that, AEG 1966. What did I have? I opened something up the other day that had got a transistorized one in it. I don't know what it was now. Right. Back to this filthy item. Right, I'll take the board out now. As you may know, you put these in one way up, and there is a circuit basically to make the phone a bit quieter. Put them in the other way up with this end down, and of course that just bridges connections that it plugs into, but there's no actual components on, you see, and that makes it as loud as it can possibly be. I normally put them in with all this circuitry bridged out. I normally put them back in that way up. I'm starting to be able to see what colour some of the wires are now. Chris says, hi Andy, I saw a PMG 801 phone from 1964 on eBay with a GPO 706 dial 21 on the PMG phone. Yeah, I believe, Christopher, that dial 21s were fitted to some of those PMG phones as a thing. That was a thing that happened, I believe. So it's not a bodge, that it's probably as it actually was. Whereas it says, if I intended to use the phone, then I would usually replace the transmitter with an electronic one, but keep the original to revert if required. Yeah, exactly. That's the best thing to do, Wesley. If you're going to use it as a daily driver sort of thing, put an electronic one in, but keep the original one. I mean, I do mess with them and keep the original carbon ones in there, but I do have to make sure the carbon ones are working to do that. The sound quality isn't as good probably as the modern electronic ones, but it's part of the history of the thing, and I've got plenty of phones around. I will use a more modern one if I'm on a call to like a radio station or something like that, and I'm going on the radio or doing something like that. We need good sound quality. I use not the oldest phone, let's say. Christopher says, I missed the bit of the stream because it played up on my end because it didn't start up. It just started now for some reason. It was stuck on your intro for half an hour, showing the phones. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know what happened there then, Christopher. So YouTube does play up every now and again. Dominic says, I've got a grey 706 that was refurbished in the 80s that I'm using for parts at the moment. Might swap the receiver and transmitter from that one. Yeah, give it a go, see if it makes it any better. That's the best way to diagnose faults, basically, just swap things around. That's the best way to kind of figure it out, I think. There's so much dust in here. Do you think I dare take the bells off and see what's under the bells? If I can get them off, because they're often quite tight. Oh no, it's coming off. That music that we play on the intro to this is quite catchy, isn't it? Right, there's one bell, another bell, there. How this dial is wired is interesting because 4 of the cores go one way and into a wiring loom as you would expect, and 1 goes totally around the other side of the phone. That is not normal. They normally all run together and then that one runs across. So that, I think, that wire, that brown wire, has probably been replaced at some point. But it's not normal for it to go around that way. It normally goes with the others, so I'm going to move it. Take it off of there. Put it back in there where it normally goes, like that. And if you're wondering where the wires go on all of these, here's a little diagram to help you. So you see the brown that I've just moved that goes to the dial goes to T3, The blue from the dial goes to T2. The grey from the dial, or slate from the dial, goes to T1. Pink from the dial goes to T10, and orange from the dial goes to T8. Okay, it's looking a lot better now. It's still not perfect. I mean, unless I take absolutely everything apart, it will not be perfect. But provided I can get a lot of the dirt out, certainly all the loose stuff, then I'll be happy. It says, interestingly, the early trim phone I have has very clear sound. Yeah, I wonder if the quality of the transmitters changed over time. You know, I wonder if they were cheaper ones that they put in later that maybe didn't last as long, weren't as good, until they went to the electronic ones, of course. Penfold 50 is here. Hi Penfold. It says, have you tried using LEDs to revamp the illumination of a trim phone? That's interesting that you ask that question. No, not yet. Right, where do I begin with that? Various people have tried it with varying degrees of success, but a few weeks ago, if you were watching a few weeks back, you would have seen me on here with a Spanish version of an American phone. It's what in Spain they call a gondola, and in America they call it a starlight, and that has a illuminated dial that is lit with an LED. Early ones, I think, were lit with a tiny tungsten bulb, but most now lit with LEDs, if they're lit at all. And the LED wasn't working when I got it, because LED, of course, only works one way round. If you put an LED in backwards, it won't work. And basically this phone had been wired with the line crossed, because normally it doesn't terribly matter your A and your B leg on your line, which way you get them in your phone. But this, it did matter, because there was an LED that needed to be powered from it. So I sorted that out and got that working and got the dial lit up nicely on that, and that's kind of made me think, I wonder if I could use this, if I could put an LED in the same way this LED is wired and put it into the dial of a trim phone. So I'm pondering on that. I need to go back and have a look how it was done in the Starlight, to see if I can do it in the trim phone. But there's two options: either you get 3 or 4 LEDs and put them where the tritium tube would be in the trim phone, or you get a piece of clear plastic of some kind, somehow bend it into the same sort of crescent moon shape like the tritium tube is, and then shine the LED down the end of the tritium tube, and it will act like a fibre optic then. This bit of plastic you've put in place, a tritium tube, and the light should shine down it, and if you just rough up the top surface of it a bit, some of the light will come out. So I'm wondering if we can do that. It's something I need to experiment with, but it's one of those things that takes time, and it's one of those things that I think about doing, then I totally forget about until somebody reminds me, and they go, oh yeah, I've got to do that. So keep reminding me. about that, because it is on the agenda of things to do, because I have never seen a trim foam glow. I've seen pictures of it, but I have never in person seen a trim foam actually glow, because the half-life of the tritium is so short. You know, all the ones that I've got here have definitely lost their glow. Right, it's looking a bit cleaner. I can sort of read numbers and things in it now, so I think we might now quit while we're ahead with that. I don't want to disturb it too much. So, the bell gongs. Now, I've said this the other week, but just in case you're not aware, I'll repeat it. Remember, these bell gongs are not identical. One is A and one is B. Which one is which? This is gong 24B. It says it. No, you can't see, can you? You're looking at me. This is gong 24B. It says it just under there. I don't know if you can see it, under the hole. 24B. There. So that one's 24B. And this one should say 24A. It does. There it is. You probably can't see it, but 24A. You might have to take my word for that. And we put those back on. Actually, I've not dusted that one. Look how shiny they are on the inside. Then we'll take this. Although these sometimes look brassy, they're not. It's a kind of plating on them. So never be tempted to rub these with anything abrasive, because you rub the plating off and then they will go rusty. So that then goes down there. So you've got to line all the holes up now. So I'll line the bell gongs up with the holes underneath. Line that up as well. Then I can put the screws back in. Now the thing about this is, do them up, but don't do them up mega tight. Just do them up just so they catch, because you want to still be able to rotate these gongs, because what you will now find is that the holes in the gongs are slightly off centre, so you have to look at the clapper now down here, and whichever way it rests, and it rests towards this side, this side, wherever it rests, it wants to be at rest, so it's just not quite touching the gong. And you do that by turning the gong, because the gong is drilled off centre. So as you turn it through 360 degrees, you'll turn it and the clapper will not be anywhere near touching. Then it will be touching and pushing it over to the side like it is now. Turn it a bit further and it's not touching again. And it wants to be so when the clapper is over the side of the gong that you're adjusting, it's not quite touching the gong, because if the clapper goes across and touches the gong and stays touching it, it'll sound dead and dull. It needs to basically, it's the springiness in the arm of the clapper that actually makes the weight on the end hit the gong. So it wants to be just not quite touching it. Probably something like that. That one. And we can do it up a bit so hopefully it won't move. Then move the clapper the other way and do the similar thing with the other gong. Try and get it in a position where the clapper is not quite touching it, and there's not really enough adjustment in this one because perhaps the clapper is a little bit bent. It's only just sort of kissing the surface of it there, so we'll do it up at that. So you see it gives a nice ring. Right, okay, we'll put the dial back on. Those two little slots there, those two little feet thing have got to go in those two little slots. And then this screw, this little sort of hook thing here, goes between the bracket and the head of the screw, and then you can tighten up the screw. Again, you only do it sort of finger tight, don't go mad with it. Right, then we can have a look again at putting these back on. I'm quite tempted to go and clean these. In fact, I think I'll do that. I'll go and give these a clean, and see what they come out like. So I'll be back in 2 shakes of whatever you'd like to call it. I'm back, but I'm still washing. I have bet you always wondered what was through this door, didn't you? The finger wheel is absolutely filthy. Look. There. Does that look any better? Yeah? No? Yeah? Maybe? finger wheel is sort of cleaned up. I'll show you in a second. These phones are so filthy, they've left a tide mark around the sink. Right, here I am. Yeah. So, kind of got them cleaner. Does that look better? You can actually see numbers on it now, look, and everything. Get it the right way up. Yeah. Cool. The finger wheel, not terribly clean. It felt a bit greasy. May need a polish this to sort it out. But I think it will sort out. There you go, it's better than it was. So we'll stick those back on for now then. So that just goes on there over those two pegs. That goes on, remember there's a little peg there that goes in that little hole there. Sometimes there's two pegs to go in the two holes, but generally there's only one, like that. Then we find the screw and we make sure the middle of this, it's a flat centre. Yes, it's kind of set into the plastic a bit, but it's a flat back centre and it's a flat backed screw, i.e. it's not a countersunk one. Flat back centre on the finger wheel, flat back on the screw. If it's a sort of countersink shape on the finger wheel, you need a countersunk machine screw. Do not mix them up, because if you mix and match them, you'll risk doing damage to the plastic finger wheel. Right, what's everybody talking about in the chat, by the way? I've not been watching it while I've been doing that, have I? Well, he says, I think Dominic did something with glow-in-the-dark paint on a trim phone. Yeah, he did, and it worked. It worked really well. It looked really good in the photos. He painted it onto a C-shaped bit of card, he says, which he'd put in over the tube, and it worked very well. Of course, that has the added advantage, doing it that way, of you actually not altering anything on the phone. For historic purposes, you just add in like a thin layer in above the tube, but the tube is still in there. Dominic says he likes the way you're doing it, as it's the most similar to how the original tritium tubes worked, activating the phosphor coating on the tube. Wesley says, I had an early 722L, which is a trim phone, which still faintly glowed about 20 years ago. I can't imagine it would now. You never know. I do occasionally hear stories of people having them that still vaguely glow when they get them in. It has to be absolutely pitch dark though. But I do hear people saying that they do have some that vaguely glow. Christopher says, did you get the email I sent to the rare 162? Well, it says well phone, but I think it means wall phone. Yes, I think I did, Christopher. Yeah, it's not a rare wall phone. It's a rare bracket it's sitting on, because it's a separate bracket. There was one of the brackets on eBay a couple of weeks back. Have you tried using a Rotatone or similar Penfold 50S to convert Opal's phones to VoIP, voice over internet protocol? No, basically, because there's no need for them. Stewie says, I always use ATAs on routers that still accept pulse dialing. That's exactly right. That is what I do as well. The ATAs that I use either accept pulse dialing, so you don't need the rotor tone to turn your pulses into DTMF, or I go through a PABX system. The one that I've got here is a BT Revelation, but Panasonic did them as well, and a lot of these PABXs, these little boxes of tricks, you can get them quite cheaply, and they will also do pulse to tone conversion. So what you do if you want to connect up to say an ATA or some kind of VoIP equipment that doesn't accept pulse dialing, you connect your phone to the PABX as an extension on the PABX, then the incoming phone line on the PABX, because it'll have 1, 2, maybe 3 lines, the incoming line on the PABX is what you connect then to your ATA or whatever other piece of equipment you have for connecting to your phone network. So your incoming call would go from your router to your ATA, to your PABX, and then to your phone, and outgoing will go from your phone to your PABX, which will convert it to DTMF, then to your ATA, your router, and out. So there's no requirement for rotor tones and things. Or what's the other one? Dial Gizmo is the other one. The only time they are really of any use is if you find yourself calling up something like a bank or something, where you've got press 1 for this, press 2 for that, press 3 for something else. To hear the menu again, press star, and of course you haven't got star. But if you do use these rotor tone things, you can get the star and the hash by doing strange things with the dial, like dialing a number and then holding it at the finger stop for more than 2 seconds before you release it, and it gives you a star and a hash key or something like that. But I personally don't use them. Apart from anything else, they're ridiculously expensive for what they are. The rotor tones are not the easiest thing in the world to fit. They're a bit fiddly to fit, and you're messing with the originality of the phone, so I don't tend to use them. I don't tend to bother with them. If you need them, I guess, but I don't need them. You know, I live without them. I do have a few DTMF phones, so if I'm calling a bank or something, I just use one of the DTMF phones that I've got, but 99.9% of the time I'm not. I'm just calling a normal human being who answers, so I don't have to have a star and a hash key. Right, we've got this back together now then. Surprisingly, the dial's not bad. You know, you'd think it'd be seized solid, but it's not. I mean, it's obviously very slow. If I do my 1001 trick, I should finish speaking just as it gets back to the normal position, back to the rest. Let's try it. 1001. It's not miles off, is it? Right, we'll put the thing back in the back of here. The regulator board, as I say, I'm turning it round. It was that way around, so all the gubbins on the regulator board was in circuit that way around. I'm turning it that way around, take it out of circuit, so that these components basically don't get used and don't wear out. So I'll put it in that way around. There we go, and that now looks a whole lot better than it did. It's still a bit dusty, it's still not totally clean, but it is a lot better than it was. I'm still getting the look out of it though, look at that. So, what have we managed to do? Well, I'll show you the pile of dirt that I've collected. There you go. That has all come out of there. Now, isn't that amazing? Right, okie dokie. Moving swiftly on. What's the way of saying? Penfold 50 says, OpenReach are going to turn off the old exchanges for Pulse in 2015, as I last heard when I worked at OpenReach 2 years ago. Well, hang on, it's gone 2015, it's 2021 now. Do you mean 2025? I think what will happen when they turn off Pulse, I don't think they will turn off Pulse. I think what will happen is basically what they're trying to do, they're trying to make all your telephone lines basically voice over IP. They're trying to make the entire telephone system in the UK, like they are in other parts of the world, notably America. They're trying to make it all voice over IP. The problems with that we'll not go into now, because basically we'll be here till next week. But they are trying to make it all voice over IP. However, if you've not got a VoIP telephone, they're not going to give you all new telephones, are they? What I think there will be, a box of tricks. Their phone line will come into your property, and whatever that phone line is, whether it's a copper line or whether it's a fibre line or whatever it is, in your property there will be a box of tricks that your phone company has put there, that you will be able to plug your telephone into, and you will be able to plug your router into. I don't think you will have to plug your telephone via your router. I think there'll be a separate thing for telephones and for routers. So there'll be a box with a socket on to plug a phone into, like you plug a phone into a wall socket now, and there'll probably be another different socket on it, like an Ethernet socket, to plug your router into. So doing away with the little ADSL filters that we have at the moment. But I think that's what will happen, and I think that box will probably have some kind of battery system in it, because the problem with voice over IP is that if there's a power cut for whatever reason, your phone goes off. Now, normally when there's a power cut, a normal phone, of course, that doesn't happen, and it's fine. You think, yeah, my phone goes off, so what? But what if you're in something like a house fire and you want to ring the fire brigade, and you dial 999, your phone's dead because it's voice over IP, and all the electric's gone off in your house. The fire's tripped the fuses for your electric. Phones don't normally go down when power supplies go down. Think of like in America when they have the places where they get tornadoes and stuff like that. They can be without power for days on end, but they often get the phone service back still without getting their normal high voltage house power back. So there's a problem with voice over IP for your main phones. Right, what is everybody saying? Archie says there are also external DTMF converters available that don't need any internal fiddling in the phone. Yeah, it's the one I'm thinking of is called the Dial Gizmo. I believe they're made in Australia, I think. Maybe Christopher could tell us more about that. Dominic says, this is at Penfold50. I'm tempted to get one of the early BT 8782 DTMF push button phones as an insurance policy at some point. Might end up going to CNET eventually if pulse dialing is disabled soon. Yeah, well, if you can basically if you've got the equipment to dial into CNET, you've got the equipment to dial into any other VoIP system, and other VoIP systems can be connected to the normal telephone network, whereas CNET can't. It's not that you can't physically connect CNET to the normal phone network, it's that legally it's a bit of a grey area. But there are other VoIP operators like SIPgate that will connect to your normal system. So if you have an ATA, let's say, with two incoming lines on the ATA, you could have one on CNET and one on SIPgate for your normal calls. Jimmy says, gotta go, Zoom is calling. Okay, doke, bye Jimmy, see you next week. Chris said, did you get the email of the Melbourne GPO I sent? No, I don't think I did get that one, Christopher. I got the one of the old Bakelite phone, but I don't think I got that one. Well, it says, I think the PSTN is going off in 2025. There will be ATAs then when landline numbers are ported over. At that point it will be a question of will they support loop disconnect or pulse dialing. Yes, I think whatever ATA kind of thing they give you, this box on the wall that they'll probably not tell you is an ATA, they'll probably just say it's a socket on the wall. I think whatever they give you will have to support pulse dialing, because basically their systems historically have always had to be backwards compatible. I think they will always have to support pulse dialing. Fat Hobbit says, I don't think they'll get rid of pulse dialing either. No, neither do I, Fat Hobbit. If they do, then there'll be an awful lot of people dumping their phone lines if their equipment doesn't work anymore. Archer66 says, POTS and ISDN was already shut off in 2020 here in Switzerland. Yeah, it's happening in various places. How do they do it there then? What do you actually have at your house? Can you still plug your original POTS phone into something that the telephone provider has given you? Or do you have to take it upon yourself to get your own ATA, and now do you just have a socket on the wall that's like an Ethernet socket? Penfold says they're going to use a new type of router, BT hub, and a new type of faceplate to move the phone signal onto your internal circuit. Right. So basically, if that's right, Penfold, you're just going to be renting an internet line from them. So they're going to lose some money there, aren't they? Because at the moment you have to rent your phone line and then have your broadband on top of it. But if they're going to take the phone line away, you'll just be renting your broadband. Can't see them doing that. Now Stu says, it's all VoIP here, but it's no problem for my old phone. Just make sure that your router accepts pulse dialing. So the ATA is built into the router kind of thing then? Is that what you're saying? The router's kind of got the ATA built in, so as well as your Ethernet ports on your router, you've got a phone port on your router as well. So your router's got like an ATA built into it, tagged onto it. Penfold says FTTP has a 1 hour battery backup already fitted on the ONT optical network termination. Right. Wedley says, I had a BT Highway ISDN line 20 years ago and it supported LD dialing. I don't think there is anything to worry about. Yeah, I don't know. They've been worried about this in America for quite a while now. You know, the American enthusiasts have been talking about this for a while. But I don't know. I'm not worried anyway, because basically everything goes out of here as loop disconnect, as not loop disconnect. Everything goes out of here as DTMF anyway, because it goes through this PABX. So it'll just go through the PABX and POX, instead of it going straight out into the phone network, the line on the PABX that is for POX rather than CNET, instead of it going straight out in the phone network, it will just have to go out via some form of ATA, like the two that are connected to CNET do. I've got 3 lines, one is POX and 2 are CNET. Dominic says, I suppose one advantage in the event of pulse dialing not working is that eBay phone prices could go down. Ha ha! Yes, Dominic, nice try. I like the idea of that. Whether that'll happen in practice, because people will still be buying them to turn them into lights. Christopher says, Pulse Dial is still available on the modern NBN VoIP network in Australia. Yeah, I think it will be. I think it will be here as well. I think basically what the equipment that BT give you, the new generation of the BT hub or whatever it is, I think it will have something like a Grandstream ATA built into it, you know, in the box. And it will accept pulse dialing as well as DTMF. That's what I think will happen. Penfold says, you will still have to rent your broadband line. Yeah, but you won't have to rent your telephone line though, will you? Because everything will be going out on your broadband line. Because if they're going to make it VoIP, or will they sneakily make it 2 things on the router? So you plug your, there's that the BT router thing on the end of their incoming line, and then you have your router for your broadband provider that plugs into that, and another socket to plug your phone in alongside it, so they still charge you for 2 things. Your broadband providers charge you for the broadband bit, and your phone provider still charges you for the phone bit, even though they're actually all going out by VoIP. Because if that does happen, then of course what you do is you get a separate ATA and plug it into your router that plugs into their router, rather than rather than plug a phone straight into their router, and then you say, I don't want my phone line anymore, I'm just using the internet, thanks very much, which at the moment you can't do in the UK. It's a really strange thing about the UK, that you cannot just rent a broadband line in the UK, you have to rent a telephone line with it. In other places you can have just broadband. Chris says, do you see the GPO 300 series phone collection I sent? I've seen it before that, Christopher. I've seen it a while ago. Osh66 says, that's exactly what happened here. Tons of old phones showed up on local auction platforms for cheap. Brilliant. Right, bring it on then. We'll see what happens. Mostly 60s to 1980s stuff, he says. Right, we'll see if that happens here then. Oh, hopefully it will. Bring on 2025 then. Now, what, 4 years? Right, we'll see how it goes. That, but yeah, it sounds like a plan. Right, right. Before we go today, I've got one or two little bits of housekeeping to do. When I find it. Now we're sort of tentatively coming out of lockdown here in the UK at the moment. People are starting to talk about special events again, and like going out and doing stuff. Can you remember when we used to do that? We used to go out and do things. Well, hopefully it's going to happen fairly soon, and there are a couple of events that I'm going to be attending with old telephones and stuff this summer, and they're both outdoor events. If you're a bit worried about the virus, they're both outdoor events. So if you want to come and see us at an event this summer, then there are two that are sort of round South Yorkshire in June and July, and I'm just going to give you an initial heads up about them now. More details will follow nearer the time. So on Saturday and Sunday, the 26th and 27th of June, Sheffield Steam Rally takes place at Northampton near Dinnington, which is actually not in Sheffield at all, but it's nearby. It's a big event, it's a big steam rally, massive event, all kinds of things there. Trade stalls, classic cars, steam engines of course, commercial vehicles, all sorts. Yeah, you name it, they have it there. You know what a steam rally's like. We'll be there as part of the Sheffield Collectors Club display. Right near the main entrance where you come in, we have a big display, about 20 or 30, maybe even 40 foot long display space, where we've got all kinds of interesting old things on display, from model steam engines to telephones to vintage Singer sewing machines, even to 1970s stylophones that sometimes pop up on this channel. If you want to get along to it, it's Sheffield Steam Rally takes place on Saturday and Sunday, the 26th and 27th of June. This is Boris's roadmap permitting, of course, provided it all goes according to plan. There'll be more details nearer the time. Then the following weekend, on Sunday the 4th of July, we will be at the Sheffield Model Engineers Summer Event on Sunday the 4th of July at their miniature railway track, which is pretty much opposite Door Station in the Sheffield suburbs. That's a great one for anybody interested in model engineering. Again, we'll be there as part of Sheffield Collectors Club. We'll be there, we'll have stationary engines at that one as well. So watch out for that. That one is on Sunday the 4th of July. There are admission fees to both of these events. We'll give you more details about that nearer the time and exactly where they are. But stick them in your diary if you want to get out and about this summer. Saturday and Sunday the 26th and 27th of June for Sheffield Steam Rally, and Sunday the 4th of July for Sheffield Model Engineers summer event there at Door Station. Right. And of course, as well as that, while I'm doing the housekeeping thing, I've got to say that if you want to get in touch with us for any reason and you don't know the email address to get in touch with us, because I don't give it out on the stream, because if I do I get loads of spam, then initially make contact by the contact form you'll find on our website. Our website is here, of course. It's andyshed.coalpress.net. That's andyshed.coalpress.net, and you can find lots of interesting articles and back episodes of this show and that on there as well. And if you'd like to join us on Patreon, and a couple of you have done now already, then you can join us for the equivalent of £1 a month, I believe it is. www.patreon.com/AndyShed, and that little bit of money that we raise on a regular basis from there basically helps us keep doing these shows, and hopefully will allow us to do more of these shows in the future. And in the next few weeks there are going to be some special Patreon only perks appearing as well. At the moment, the patrons get their name on the end of all the videos that we do. They get a name on the credits at the moment, but there will be some special Patreon only content coming up in the next few weeks as well. So if you want to join us on there, as I said, patreon.com/AndyShed. And finally, if you want to have a look at the shop that we are currently building, andysemporium.coalpress.net is the one to go there. It's andysemporium.coalpress.net. Right, just before we go, I'll have one more scan of the old chat. Penfold says, yes, you can just rent a broadband line. It's called Sogia, single order generic Ethernet access. Can you? Right. I'll look into that, because you couldn't do that last time I looked. Christopher says, I was told pulse dial wouldn't work on my NBN phone line, but pulse dial phones do work on my NBN phone line. Yeah, that happens a lot, Christopher. That's happened in America as well to certain people, where they've been told their new fibre phone lines and that pulse dialing won't work, but when they actually plug it in and try it, it does work. What it is they don't, when they put the equipment in and when they train all their staff at the phone company, they don't mention pulse dialing to them, because they think it's an obsolete system, so it's not talked about in the staff training and stuff like that. So when you say to them, does this line support pulse dialing, they look through their paperwork or look through their computer system, can't find anything, and then they go, no, sorry, it doesn't. And it's not that it doesn't, it's just that they've not found anything that says that it does. And then of course you find out that it does. So it's always worth a try. Even if it says it doesn't support pulse dialing, it's always worth a try. Wesley says, will there be any old Land Rovers or tractors at these events, Andy? Certainly at Sheffield Steam Rally there will be a heck of a lot of tractors and probably some Land Rovers as well. I think that, oh yeah, there's a fire engine Land Rover that goes to that normally. Dominic says, I'll have to go to one of those. Won't be too far from Leeds. Yeah, if you're in Leeds, Dominic, Sheffield Steam Rally would be a really good one to go to, because it's not actually in Sheffield city centre. It's actually pretty close to the A57 junction on the M1. So if you're driving down from Leeds, drive down the M1 and come off at the A57 junction and go east towards Dinnington, and you'll pick up the signs for it. It's a really good do, Sheffield Steam Rally. I know the organisers well. They're a nice bunch of people. You'll have a good time if you go to that. Christopher says, in Australia, special trains are back now from Steam Rail, and 707 operations in Melbourne now. So things are getting a bit more back to normal, it sounds like, then, over there in Australia. And one of his favourite locos is back in service. Excellent. Dominic says, do the credits feature at the end of the streams? Yes. There's a caption card that'll appear, Dominic. It'll look something like that. Alright, there you go. You've seen it a bit early there. But yeah, that'll be back on. That'll be back on at the end. Right, I've caught up again. Crikey, there's 17 people watching as well, live at the minute today. Remember, if you've not done so already, please give us a thumbs up. Give us a like on the old YouTube there. The more people who do the thumbs up, apparently, I only found this out the other day. The more people who do the thumbs up to a video, the more chance there is that YouTube will suggest that video to other people. So that's something that I didn't know until the other day. So please give it a like and thumbs up and whatnot. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe as well and hit that little bell thing. Because if you just subscribe and don't hit the bell thing, then YouTube won't notify you when we do a live stream. I mean, if you don't want the notifications, but you do want to subscribe, then subscribe, but don't hit the bell. And then it'll not bother you with the notifications. Because if, like me, you subscribe to a couple of hundred different channels, obviously if you hit the notification thing for all of those, and your emails come through to your phone like mine do, then your phone's going ping, 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 ping all the time, because people are uploading stuff to YouTube all the time when you've got so many channels on your subscription list. So, whereas most YouTubers say like, subscribe and hit that bell icon, I say like and subscribe, but think before you hit that bell icon as to whether you want it sending you all those messages or not. But please do subscribe. You'll not get the messages if you don't hit the bell icons. You can still subscribe and not be bothered by things saying Andy's just got out of bed this morning and stuff like that. Right. Oh, the chat's moved on again. Christopher 2000 says, and you can use a central battery phone on the Grandstream ATA. I believe there is a setting to do that, isn't there? Because there's a setting on the ATA somewhere, if I remember right, that when you pick the phone up, it automatically dials a number. So that would be like dialing the operator. So you don't actually have to dial, I believe. It has a setting for central battery. Yeah, I believe that's right, Christopher. I'd forgotten all about that, but I think you're right, mate, yeah. Fat Hobbit says, have to go now, Andy. Bye, everyone. See you next week. Bye, Fat Hobbit. See you next time. Nice to see you here. Yeah, and I shall be having to go myself in just a moment. So get your last questions and stuff into the chat now, if you've got any more. Because it's getting near 8 o'clock when I turn back into a pumpkin. Talking of which, I've set some this week, and they're growing. So yeah, there will probably be in the week. There will probably be a gardening video coming out, just for something a bit different. So watch out for that in the week. All about potatoes. Just to be different, just for a change. Sort of thing. Archery66. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, Archery66. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, tell me. It says, my AVM routers actually run on 12 volts DC, so I can use an old car battery as a buffer. Yeah, a lot of the ATAs run on 12 volts. In fact, what do the routers run on? My router runs on something like that. I'll have a look and I'll tell you in a minute. It must say somewhere on it. Input 12 volts DC at 2 amps on the router here. So yeah, you could power your router if your electricity went off. That would work. But if your phone line becomes VoIP, would the cabinets and that go off? You know, the cabinet at the end of the street, would that need to be powered somehow? Or indeed, does that have batteries in it? I don't know. I've never really looked inside or studied it that much. Wesley said, do you mention you had got a rotavator recently, Andy? Yes, I did, Wesley. That's in a video. I mentioned that in a video that's not gone online yet. How did you know that? Oh, did I mention it on here last week? Yes, I have. I've got a vintage rotavator that actually still works for a living in the garden. It's called a Howard Bantam. I don't think I've got a picture of it on the system that I can show you. I'll show you a photo next week. But yeah, it's a Howard Bantam rotavator, dating from the 50s or 60s, and they're good because they're only small. And my garden's not that big, particularly for putting a rotavator in it. You know, because they take up a lot of turning space and things. So yeah, we've got one of those, a Howard Bantam. If anybody's got any tools kicking about in your shed or anything for a Howard Bantam, any of the add-on tools like the grass cutter and things for one, I'd be interested in purchasing them. So look in the back of your sheds, people. Wesley says the cabinets are battery backed up. Right, okay, I've learnt something again, Wesley. Christopher says, I've found out how you can make an intercom with one magneto phone with a battery. Yeah, you can. In fact, you should be able to, I believe, hang on, my battery here is dying. Just a second, because I forgot to plug my phone in like a fool today. What was I going to say? Yes, a magnetophone, or a central battery phone. You should be able to do that. Right, I've had to stand it up there now, so I've got to be looking up there now, not down there, for it. But yeah, you should be able to do that. You ought to make a video about that, Christopher. That'd be a good video to show people. Make a video about that, and I will put a link up to it, because that would be a very good one to show as a demonstration. Studio66 says, I have a direct optical cable to my central, so it should work in case of a blackout. Yeah, It will, until where you worry is where there's a fibre optic repeater. So where your optical cable, which is basically a strand of glass with light shining down it, somewhere out there, you know, a mile away or 10 miles away or however far it is, there will be some kind of booster thing that takes in the signals and then kind of amplifies them by shining a fresh light down the strand of glass further on, simplifying it a lot. And if that goes down, then that would stop your fibre optic. But hopefully that would be far enough away not to have been affected by your local power outage. Penfold says no battery in a PCP, primary contact point, aka green box. Right, no, I didn't think there was. Power is from the MDF main distribution frame at the exchange. Yeah. So is it going to be that way though when it's all VoIP? Or will those green boxes need to be powered then? This is the question. Right, cool. Christopher says I've already done a video on YouTube of my Magneto phone intercom system. Stick a link in the chat then, Christopher. Can you find it while you're on and stick a link to it in the chat so people can go and have a watch of it. What it says, the PCP is just E to D terminations. After the PSTN goes, there will be no need for the exchange MDF or E-sides. Penfold says the digital subscriber line access multiplex have a power supply. They are used in FTTC. Right. So, if I've understood all this right, I think we've not got to worry about phones going off or we have a power cut too much. The only thing we might have a problem with is the equipment that they put in our house, if we have to plug it in, and hopefully it will be like routers are at the moment, 12 volts, they can run it off a car battery. In fact, we'll probably be running a whole house off batteries by then, when Elon Musk gets his Tesla power walls and things sorted out. He of the exploding space rockets. So funny. Elon Musk space rockets. So funny. It says here it's all AON FTTH. Cool. Alright, yeah, Elon Musk space rocket, sorry, it's so funny, just got to tell you this before the end. He launched another one of his Starship rockets the other day. He launched it in thick fog. First of all, SpaceX said to all the YouTubers, said, yeah, if you sign a disclaimer, you can put cameras around nearby so you can cover the launch live and we'll get some free publicity out of it. So people put thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds worth of cameras around, all these YouTubers, people like Everyday Astronaut and La Padre and people like that. But thousands of pounds worth of cameras all around this rocket so they could cover the launch live. Then the day of the launch, it was super foggy and none of the cameras could see it. But then it gets better, because normally his Starship rockets go up, come down and then explode as they touch down. This one, this time, exploded while it was still in the air and showered bits of space rocket down on all these very expensive cameras. It's well worth seeing. Go and watch Everyday Astronaut's stream of what happened about it. Because the look of shock and horror on his face when it explodes and it's all raining down, and he's going, "Make cameras, make cameras!" But he is very well aware that can happen, and it's a risk he takes, and the coverage is very, very good. It's well worth a watch. I'm sure a lot of you have probably been watching the Starship launches already. And Opal says that FTTP, aka full fibre optic power, is local to the house. Full fibre optic is local to the house with battery backup. Right, so the piece of kit that they're going to give you then to put on the end of your phone line when it all goes VoIP will have a battery backup in it, if I've understood that right as well. Yeah, is that right? So we're sorted. We're not too worried about it then. I think that's the general consensus. We're not too worried at the moment, provided it still supports pulse dialing, and there will be a way around it even if it doesn't. So don't worry about it. We will find a way. And remember, if you're on CNET, we were VoIP before they were. So actually, CNET is the sort of the leading trailing edge of technology, as they call themselves. Right, I think that is about as far as we go for one day. Thanks to everybody for taking part in the chat. I don't know for certain, but I've got a feeling we've had a record number of people in the chat today. So thanks for everybody for getting involved, because it makes it much more of a nice community event when you all get involved and give us some feedback out there. If you're watching after the event, then remember, you can always leave us a comment somewhere below or to the side or wherever it is these days. And remember, we are live here every Sunday at around about 6 PM UK time, which is now British summertime after last weekend. Yes, it's light at nights. Yay! So we'll be back next Sunday around about 6 PM. Watch out in the week as well. Like I say, hopefully there's a gardening video coming out this week of all things, and possibly some other stuff as well. And remember, put those dates in your diary as well for the summer. Those dates: Saturday and Sunday the 26th and 27th of June for Sheffield Steam Rally, and Sunday the 4th of July for the Sheffield Model Engineers event there. How cool is that? Right, that really is as far as we go for today. My thanks again to everybody in the chat. My thanks to everybody who has also sent me emails and things this week. I have replied to most of them already, but if I've not replied to you, just give me a poke or something, because to be honest, I do sometimes miss some. I get so many emails and stuff these days that it's very easy for me to accidentally delete one that I shouldn't have. So if you've been expecting a reply from me and you haven't had one, that's probably why. So just resend it to me or something and go, "Oi, wake up!" And I probably will. Right, so until next week around about the same time, thanks for joining us, and have a great week out there, whatever you are doing. But don't go mad, people. Remember, you've still got to stay 2 meters away from everybody else in the world. That's an order. Boris says so. So, from me for now, I know Dominic and Paul are waiting for this next bit because it's that caption they've been talking about. I'll say have a fantastic week, and we'll see you back here next Sunday at 6 PM. Bye for now.